What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, I've been told that undefeated unified WBC, WBA, IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer, who is widely considered by many to be top 2 best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, maybe top 1 to some, definitely top 5 best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, and Errol "The Truth" Spence Jr. 28 wins, no loss, no draw, 22 big wins by way of knockout, 32 years of age, 5 foot 9.5 with a 72-inch arm reach. Is going to face off against former unified welterweight world champion superstar boxer who held the WBC, WBA welterweight world titles in Keith one-time Thurman. Keith Thurman is now 30 wins, 1 loss, no draw, 22 wins by way of knockout. He is 33 years of age. He'll be 34 years of age, 5'8" with a 69-inch arm reach. In his next fight, in Errol Spence's next fight, will be Keith Thurman versus Errol Spence. The WBC, World Boxing Council President Mauricio Suleiman, board of 32 members, have ordered this fight. Now, we get reports that Errol Spence could possibly be moving up to junior middleweight, 154, okay? Now, the thing about this is, we know Errol Spence, he wants to fight with undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the reigning WBO, World Boxing Organization welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford is 38 wins, no loss, no draw, 29 big wins by way of knockout, 35 years of age, 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach, okay? That's Errol Spence's biggest rival. That's the fight Errol Spence wants. Errol Spence has set out from the moment he's became on the scenes, should I say, well, his entire career, he's been focused on strap season, right? Get the straps. That's his motto, okay? His whole motto is, you see, after he beat former WBA welterweight world champion Cuban star boxer Yordenis Ugas via 10th round stoppage, where he stopped him, broke his ribs, nose, and orbital bone, stopped him in the 10th round. Errol Spence, he created shirts with the Grim Reaper. He refers to himself as the Big Fish and strap season. The Grim Reaper as a big fish, knocking on all the doors, picking up all the belts. Errol Spence has let it be known on multiple occasions that he is planning on collecting all the belts and becoming undisputed and becoming the first 4-belt era undisputed world champion in the history of the sport of boxing. And to do so, he has to go through Terence Crawford. Now, negotiations with him and Terence Crawford have fell through. Errol Spence, he fought April 16th, Arlington, Texas, AT&T, Dallas Cowboys Stadium against Yordenis Ugas, okay? And since then, he created the shirts where one door he's knocking on former IBF welterweight world champion, British superstar boxer Special K Kell Brooks' door, okay, for the IBF title. His first world title opportunity, that was May of 2017. Then he has a picture of him knocking on the door of 2-time welterweight world champion, retired future Hall of Fame superstar boxer Showtime Shawn Porter, in which he's knocking on Shawn Porter's door. That was September 2019. Then this year, obviously, it was Yordenis Ugas. And then he had a door he was knocking on, was Terence Crawford door. And he had the belts hanging on the door. So that's his motto, right? Strap season. So now we get the reports that he's going to move up to 154. Now, the problem with him moving up to 154, a few things, is that Errol Spence, he stated, when said this could have been Terence Crawford your next fight, he said, absolutely, but I'm going to spin the block, meaning I'm coming back around to Terence Crawford, right? After my next upcoming fight, I'm spinning the block, I'm coming back towards Terence Crawford. He announced that he having a huge announcement coming up, and then he's going to, obviously, that's going to be a fight announcement, and then he's going to spin the block and come back to Terence Crawford, right? Okay, Terence Crawford is fighting December 10th against David Avanesian, welterweight title, Russian, Armenian star title contender, David Avanesian. December 10th, Omaha, Nebraska, right? Okay. With that said, here's the problem with Errol Spence moving up to 54. Now, I know Errol Spence has stated that, it's not easy for him to make 147. He's been at 147 for 10 years. It's time for him to go up to 54. And Errol Spence is considered a very big welterweight, so I can see that. Errol Spence even tweeted out when two-time welterweight world champion, two-division world champion, Puerto Rican superstar boxer Danny Swift Garcia moved up in his latest fight to 154, and Errol Spence, he tweeted out and said that extra weight must feel extra good. I know it does, right? That's what Errol Spence stated, right? And that's an indication that he wants to move to 154. He stated that he's only sticking around 47 for the Terence Crawford fight to become undisputed. If Errol Spence was to choose to move up to 154, now here's the thing about it. We know that the PBC Premier Boxing Champion, founder and advisor Al Heyman, and the PBC, they're pushing the Keith Thurman fight. They have been pushing the Keith Thurman fight for Errol Spence for quite some time, and they're still pushing the Keith Thurman fight for Errol Spence at this current time, right? And it's been told to me that it'll be Keith Thurman, his next opponent, and it'll be announced this week. Now, if Errol Spence decides, Errol Spence has put it out there on numerous occasions that he refuses to fight Keith Thurman. He have disdain for Keith Thurman. He unified the belts, Keith Thurman did, in March of 2017 against Danny Garcia, picked up the WBC and WBA, and held the WBA title. Errol Spence, 2 months later, picked up the IBF. They in-house, they wanted to unify. Keith Thurman refused to give him the opportunity. Keith Thurman kept giving Errol Spence the runaround, saying he was going to get his shot, never gave him his shot. And because of that, Errol Spence has grown disdain for Keith Thurman, right? He's let it be known, I don't like Keith Thurman, I don't like his personality, he's fake, right? That's what Errol Spence said. So he's let it be known abundantly clear he has no love lost for Keith Thurman, okay? And so, with that said, maybe Errol Spence stands his ground. Now, Errol Spence, when the PBC put up a poll, who wants to see Errol Spence versus Keith Thurman, Errol Spence responded on that poll and said the PBC need to take the L out of lover. Mean it's over, right? Okay. Errol Spence moves up to 154. The Terence Crawford fight just got even bleaker, even grayer, okay? Another thing is, Errol Spence moving up to 54 is forcing his good friend and stablemate and three-time junior middleweight world champion, who was the undisputed junior middleweight world champion, top 5 pound-for-pound best fighters in the world, superstar boxer Jermell Lyons Only Charlo, out the division. Jermell Charlo's 35 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw. 18 wins by way of knockout. Jermell Charlo is 32 years of age, 5'11.5" for the 74-inch arm reach. Jermell Charlo has reservations about fighting Errol Spence. Now, Jermell Charlo will fight anybody. Errol Spence is on the record saying that if it make money and it makes sense, I'm fighting Jermell Charlo. Errol Spence moving up to 154 at this point in time is pointless. It doesn't benefit Errol Spence to move up to 154. Jermell Charlo holds all the belts and has a mandatory challenge, which looks like it's going to take place January 28th against Tim Tszyu. Okay? So Jermell Charlo is going to fight Tim Tszyu. Yes, he's going to fight Tim Tszyu January 28th, defend his titles. They're building a fight for Jermell Charlo and Sebastian Fundora. In-house fight. PBC. Right? Errol Spence moves up to the division. He's going to want to pick up belts. He's already on record saying he don't want tune-ups. He only wants title fights. So now he left a stone unturned at 147. Then he moves up to 154. And what he's going to do? Jermell Charlo is trained also by 2-time trainer of the year, well-renowned trainer, future Hall of Fame trainer, Derrick James. So he's trained by Derrick James. They both trained by Derrick James. Now, we know Ronnie Shields has trained Jermell Charlo in early in his career, and then he switched to Derrick James. Maybe Jermell Charlo switches to another trainer. But Errol Spence moves up to 54. And Terence Crawford moves up to 54. They're not going to fight for titles at 154. Okay? They're just not. And Terence Crawford has plans to become undisputed at welterweight as well. You understand? So if Errol Spence vacates the belts, is Terence Crawford is not forced to move up in weight. Now, time is not on his side and he wants the Errol Spence fight. But Terence Crawford is not forced to move up in weight. He's comfortable at 47. Right? So time is not on his side because he's 35. He's 3 years older than Errol Spence for that fight, that particular fight. But Terence Crawford is not forced to move up in weight. So Errol Spence vacates the belt. Terence Crawford could attempt to collect those belts at 147. He could actually stay at 147 for the duration of his career and pick up the rest of the belts. Right? Once he has the WBO belt, see, it's chess, not checkers. If Terence Crawford was to stay there, his biggest obstacle is going to be Jaron Boots Ennis, because he's going to be undefeated welterweight superstar IBF mandatory title contender who's 29 wins, no loss, no draw, 27 big wins by way of knockout, 25 years of age, 5'10" with a 74-inch arm reach. That's going to be his biggest task, toughest task, because Jaron Ennis is going to pick up that IBF strap. So let's say Terence Crawford was to beat everybody, pick up all those belts. Well, guess what he automatically does? Makes himself the mandatory challenger for whoever beats Jermell Charlo. If Jermell Charlo moves up and vacates the belts, then that's a different story. If somebody beats Jermell Charlo and picks up the belts and Terence Crawford moves up, he's automatically the mandatory challenger with the WBO. So the chess move for Terence Crawford, he could collect the belts. His biggest obstacle, again, is beating Jaron Ennis for the IBF title at welterweight. Right? And he doesn't have the hurdle of ESPNs with BLK Prime, who's going to make the fights. So with that said, how does that benefit Errol Spence to move up? Is he going to fight Sebastian Fundora at 154? Is he going to fight Tony Harrison out the gate at 154? Is he going to fight Brian Castano at 154? And he's already said that he's going to spin the block with Terence Crawford. So when does he plan on spinning the block with Terence Crawford if he moves up to 154 right now? It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. Right? It makes more sense for him to go ahead and fight Keith Thurman. It's a huge fight. And Keith Thurman is a bigger name for Errol Spence than Fundora, Tony Harrison, and Brian Castano, and Erickson Lubin. Makes more sense for him to fight. It makes more sense for him to fight Keith Thurman because he already stated he don't want tune-ups. He want big pay-per-view fights. Well, him versus Tony Harrison, Fundora, Brian Castano, or Erickson Hammer Lubin, because it's gonna have to be one of those guys. Not going to be a champion because there's only one champion at 54, Jermell Charlo. And not going to be Tim Tszyu because Tim Tszyu is the mandatory. And Sebastian Fundora is the mandatory for the WBC. So why would he risk his position fighting Errol Spence? When he's already in position, he could fight another cupcake, stay in position, and fight the winner of Tim Tszyu and Jermell Charlo. So it don't make sense for Sebastian Fundora to fight Errol Spence. Right? Now, Errol Spence fights Keith Thurman, beats Keith Thurman. Now, maybe Keith Thurman and Errol Spence fight at a catchweight. Right? That allows Errol Spence a little more wiggle room till he fight Terence Crawford. But best believe Terence Crawford is going to fight him at 47. Because Terence Crawford wants to be undisputed just like Errol Spence wants to be undisputed. Now, maybe Keith Thurman, but if Errol Spence ventures off to 154, he's never coming back down to 47. It's not going to happen. So it just don't make sense for Errol Spence to move up to 154. But again, the sport of boxing don't make sense. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.